The alley was quiet, except for the soft hum of distant traffic and the occasional rustle of leaves carried by the cold evening breeze. It was the kind of place most people passed without a second thought, a forgotten corner of the city where the struggles of life unfolded unseen. Among the shadows, a small figure moved cautiously, her thin body barely more than a silhouette against the dim glow of a streetlight. This was Luna, a stray cat whose life had been anything but kind. Her fur, once a vibrant patchwork of black and white, was now matted and dulled by dirt and neglect. Every movement she made was slow, deliberate, a reflection of both her weariness and her wariness of the world around her. She limped slightly on her hind leg, a painful reminder of an injury that had never healed properly. Her eyes, large and luminous, held a mix of fear and determination, scanning her surroundings for any sign of danger, or perhaps a fleeting glimpse of hope. For Luna, life was a constant battle for survival. Each day blended into the next, a cycle of scavenging for scraps, avoiding threats, and finding whatever shelter she could to shield herself from the biting cold. The alley was her world, but it offered little in the way of comfort or safety. Still, Luna pressed on, driven by a deep, instinctual will to survive. She wasn't always this way. Somewhere in her past there were moments of warmth, the faint memory of a gentle hand stroking her fur, and the soft sound of laughter. But those days were long gone, replaced by the harsh reality of abandonment. Now trust was a luxury Luna couldn't afford, and the world was nothing more than a series of obstacles to navigate. As the evening deepened, Luna curled up in a small corner of the alley, her body tucked tightly to conserve what little warmth she had. Her eyes remained open, ever watchful, as the city continued its indifferent rhythm around her. This was her life, lonely, cold, and uncertain. But even in the darkest moments, Luna's spirit refused to fade entirely. Somewhere deep within her, a small, stubborn spark of hope still flickered. Little did Luna know her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. In this very alley, under the same cold streetlight, her story of hardship and survival would soon become one of love, kindness, and transformation. And it all began with a chance encounter, an act of compassion that would alter her life forever. Luna's days began and ended in the same relentless cycle, each one marked by challenges that tested her resolve. Every morning, as the sun rose over the city, its light barely reached the narrow alley where Luna made her home. This forgotten stretch of concrete and brick was her refuge, though it offered little solace. Here, survival was her only goal, and every moment demanded her full attention. Food was always the greatest challenge. Luna had learned to rely on her sharp senses and quick reflexes to scavenge what she could. The trash bins along the alley became her hunting ground, though they rarely yielded much more than scraps. Sometimes she would find the remnants of a sandwich or a piece of stale bread, but more often than not, she was left hungry, her small frame growing weaker with each passing day. On good days, a kind shopkeeper might leave out some leftovers, but those moments of generosity were rare and fleeting. Even in the pursuit of food, Luna faced constant threats. Larger territorial alley cats often prowled the same areas, their sharp hisses and flashing claws a warning to stay away. Luna had the scars to prove how fierce these encounters could be, and she had learned to retreat rather than fight. Her limp, a painful reminder of a confrontation she couldn't escape, made every step a struggle, slowing her down when she needed to be quick. The humans she encountered were no less unpredictable. Most ignored her, their footsteps passing by without a glance. Some, however, were cruel, shouting at her to leave or throwing objects to scare her away. These encounters left Luna even more cautious, her trust in people reduced to a distant memory. She had once known kindness, but it felt like a lifetime ago, a faint echo in a world now dominated by fear and survival. The weather added another layer of hardship. On cold nights, the chill seeped into her bones, leaving her shivering as she tried to find warmth. She would curl up behind dumpsters or under broken crates, anything that offered a semblance of shelter. Rain was her greatest enemy, soaking her fur and stealing what little warmth she could muster. And when the snow fell, it turned her world into a frozen landscape where every step became a fight against the elements. Despite it all, Luna's spirit refused to give in. Her eyes, though tired, still held a spark of determination. She had survived this long, and she would keep going, no matter how dire her circumstances seemed. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the toll of her struggles became harder to ignore. Luna's body was growing weaker, her limp more pronounced, her once vibrant coat now a tangle of dirt and neglect. Still she pressed on, driven by an unyielding will to survive. Every scrap of food, every moment of rest, every tiny victory was a reminder that she was still here, still fighting. But deep down, Luna couldn't shake the feeling that she was running out of time. The world had been harsh to her, and she wondered if she would ever find a place where she truly belonged. Little did she know, her days of hardship were numbered. Change was coming, though it was hard to imagine in the cold and unforgiving alley. Her resilience had carried her this far, and soon it would lead her to a moment that would alter her life forever, a moment of kindness that would reignite the hope she had almost lost. It was another ordinary day in the alley, a day like countless others Luna had endured. The morning sun barely peeked through the maze of buildings, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. Luna, her limp more pronounced than usual, sniffed cautiously around a dumpster, hoping to find something, anything, that could quiet the gnawing hunger in her belly. The sharp clatter of footsteps in the distance made her freeze. Experience had taught her that the world was rarely kind, and strangers could bring trouble. But this time, the stranger was different. Emily, a young woman in her late 20s, was walking home from a local cafe. She had taken this route many times before, but today something caught her eye, a flash of movement near the dumpster. At first, she thought it was just a trick of the light, but then she saw her. A small, fragile cat, her black and white fur tangled and her frame worryingly thin. Emily stopped in her tracks, her heart breaking at the sight. Luna noticed Emily too. Her eyes, wide with caution, locked onto the stranger, ready to bolt at the slightest sign of danger. She had seen people before, most ignored her, some shouted, and a few had been cruel. But there was something about this woman that made her hesitate. Emily stood still, her expression soft and her movements deliberate, as if she knew that even a small gesture might send Luna running. "Hey there, sweetie," Emily said gently, her voice barely above a whisper. She crouched down, keeping her distance, and opened her bag. From it, she pulled out a small paper bag that held the remnants of a sandwich. She carefully placed a piece of bread and some turkey on the ground, then stepped back, giving Luna space to approach. Luna's nose twitched as the scent of food reached her. Hunger battled with caution in her mind. She hadn't eaten more than scraps in days, but trusting a human was a risk she wasn't sure she could take. She took a hesitant step forward, her movements slow and calculated, her eyes never leaving Emily. "It's okay," Emily murmured, sitting down on the pavement to make herself seem less intimidating. She didn't reach out or move closer. Instead, she stayed still, watching as Luna inched forward. The small cat's limping gait tugged at Emily's heart, and she felt an overwhelming need to help. Finally, hunger won out. Luna darted forward, snatched the food, and retreated to a safe distance to eat. Emily didn't mind. She stayed where she was, watching Luna devour the scraps as if they were a feast. For the first time in a long while, Luna's belly felt full, if only temporarily. Over the next few minutes, Emily tried speaking to Luna again, her voice calm and soothing. She didn't expect an instant connection. Trust, she knew, would take time. But there was a moment, brief but profound, when Luna's eyes met hers. In that fleeting gaze, Emily saw not just a stray cat, but a soul that had been abandoned, hurt, and left to fend for itself in a world that rarely showed compassion. "I'll be back," Emily promised softly as she rose to her feet. She left another piece of food before walking away, not wanting to overwhelm Luna. As she disappeared down the alley, Luna watched her go, a mix of confusion and curiosity in her tired eyes. Something about this human was different, but Luna wasn't ready to trust, not yet. That evening, as Luna curled up in her usual spot, the memory of the kind woman lingered. The food, the gentle voice, the absence of hostility. It was unlike any encounter she'd had in a long time. And though she couldn't understand why, a small part of her hoped that Emily would return. And return she did. The next day, Emily came back, her bag filled with more food and a soft blanket. She sat in the same spot, speaking to Luna in the same gentle tone. The routine continued for days, each encounter chipping away at the walls Luna had built around herself. Slowly but surely, something began to change. Luna, for the first time in a long time, started to feel something unfamiliar, a fragile sense of trust. Trust is a fragile thing, especially for a heart that has been broken too many times. For Luna, trusting humans felt like a distant memory, a dangerous luxury she could no longer afford. But Emily, with her quiet patience and unwavering kindness, was different. She didn't rush, she didn't demand, and most importantly, she didn't give up. Day by day, Emily returned to the alley, always bringing food and sometimes little gifts, a soft blanket, a small toy, or even just her calm presence. She spoke to Luna in soothing tones, her voice carrying warmth that felt foreign in the cold, harsh world Luna had known. At first, Luna remained cautious, keeping her distance and only approaching when Emily moved far enough away. But something about Emily's persistence began to chip away at Luna's defenses. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the city lights began to flicker on, Emily arrived at her usual spot. This time, she brought a can of tuna and placed it gently on the ground. Instead of stepping back as she usually did, Emily sat cross-legged a few feet away, keeping her movements slow and deliberate. She didn't look directly at Luna, but instead busied herself with her phone, pretending not to notice as the small cat crept closer. Luna, driven by the irresistible scent of the tuna, inched forward cautiously. Her ears twitched at every sound, her eyes darting between Emily and the food. She hesitated for a long moment, her body tensed to flee at the first sign of danger. But Emily remained still, her presence calm and unthreatening. Finally, Luna darted forward, her body low to the ground, and began eating. For the first time, Luna stayed close while she ate. Emily watched out of the corner of her eye, careful not to make any sudden movements. "You're brave, little one," she murmured softly. Though Luna didn't respond, her body language shifted ever so slightly, her tail flicking less anxiously, her posture less rigid. It was a small victory, but it marked the beginning of something new. Over the next few weeks, the dance continued. Emily would sit a little closer each time, and Luna, though hesitant, began to let her guard down. The distance between them slowly shrank until, one evening, Luna did something she hadn't done in years. She let Emily touch her. It was a tentative gesture, a light brush of fingers against her matted fur, but it was enough to send a wave of emotion through Emily. "You're safe with me," Emily whispered, her voice breaking slightly as she gently stroked Luna's head. Luna flinched at first, but didn't run. Instead, she allowed the touch, her body trembling, as if unsure how to respond. For the first time in a long while, she felt something she thought she had lost forever: comfort. From that moment, their bond grew stronger. Emily began bringing a small carrier with her, hoping to take Luna to a vet for her injured leg. But she didn't rush. Instead, she let Luna grow accustomed to the carrier, placing food inside and leaving the door open so Luna could explore it at her own pace. It took time, but Emily understood that trust couldn't be forced. One evening, as the cold winds swept through the alley, Luna made a choice that surprised even herself. She walked into the carrier, her eyes wary, but her body willing. Emily, her heart swelling with emotion, carefully closed the door. "We're going home, Luna," she said, tears glistening in her eyes. It wasn't just Luna who had found something that day. For Emily, this small act of trust was a reminder of the power of patience, kindness, and connection. As they walked out of the alley together, the city seemed a little less cold, a little less harsh. For Luna, the long journey of survival was giving way to something she had almost forgotten: a sense of belonging. The drive to Emily's home was quiet, save for the soft purr of the car engine and the occasional rustle from the carrier in the passenger seat. Luna's wide eyes scanned her unfamiliar surroundings, her body tense and unsure of what awaited her. Emily glanced over occasionally, offering soothing words that she hoped would ease Luna's nerves. "It's okay, sweet girl," she said softly. "You're safe now." When they arrived, Emily carried Luna inside with the utmost care, opening the carrier door slowly to let her out. Luna hesitated, her small paws stepping cautiously onto the soft rug beneath her. The warmth of the room was a stark contrast to the cold, unforgiving alley she had known for so long. The scent of food lingered in the air, mingling with the subtle aroma of lavender from a nearby candle. It was a world Luna had long forgotten, a world of safety and comfort. Emily had prepared a cozy space for her new companion, a soft bed tucked in a quiet corner, bowls filled with fresh water and high-quality food, and a small box of toys that jingled enticingly. But she knew it would take time for Luna to adjust. The cat's every movement was cautious, her body low to the ground as she explored her new surroundings. She sniffed the air, her ears twitching at the unfamiliar sounds of the house settling and the gentle hum of the refrigerator. The first few days were a delicate balance of patience and care. Luna often retreated to the safety of her carrier or hid under the furniture, her trust in Emily still fragile. But Emily never pushed her, letting Luna come out on her own terms. Each time she emerged, Emily was there, speaking in soft tones and offering small treats to encourage her. Slowly but surely, Luna began to feel less like a stranger in the house and more like a resident. The first major milestone came during their trip to the veterinarian. Emily had been worried about Luna's injured leg, as well as her overall health after so much time on the streets. The visit confirmed what Emily had suspected. Luna's leg injury had healed poorly, and she was malnourished, but with proper care, she would recover. The vet recommended a nutritious diet, gentle exercise, and plenty of rest. Emily listened intently, determined to give Luna the life she deserved. Back at home, Luna's transformation began in earnest. Her coat, once matted and dull, started to regain its sheen with regular grooming, and a healthy diet. Her limp, though still noticeable, improved with time and care. And perhaps most importantly, Luna's spirit began to heal. She started to venture out of her hiding spots more often, her movements less tentative. She even began to play, pawing at the jingling toys with a curiosity that hadn't been seen in years. One evening, as Emily sat on the couch reading, Luna did something that brought tears to her eyes. The small cat, who had spent so much of her life avoiding human contact, jumped onto the couch and curled up beside her. Emily froze, hardly daring to breathe as Luna nestled closer, her tiny body warm against her side. It was a moment of pure trust, a testament to how far they had come together. From then on, Luna blossomed. Her once cautious demeanor gave way to moments of affection and playfulness. She would follow Emily around the house, her soft meows a reminder that she was no longer alone. And though the scars of her past would always be a part of her, they no longer defined her. Luna had found a home, a place where she was loved, cared for, and safe. As the weeks turned into months, Luna's new life became her reality. No longer did she flinch at every sound or shy away from gentle hands. Her once frail body grew stronger, her coat now soft and glossy, a stark contrast to the battered and matted fur she had when Emily first found her. And while Luna had changed, Emily found herself transformed as well. For Emily, Luna was more than a pet. She was a reminder of resilience and the impact of small acts of kindness. Caring for Luna gave her a sense of purpose, a daily ritual that brought meaning to her life in ways she hadn't expected. Every morning, Luna would greet her with a soft meow, her tail curling affectionately around Emily's leg. And every evening, they would sit together on the couch, a quiet companionship that spoke volumes. One particularly memorable moment came on a sunny afternoon. Emily decided to let Luna experience the outdoors again, this time in the safety of a small enclosed garden behind her apartment. At first, Luna hesitated, her paws gingerly stepping onto the soft grass. The sunlight felt warm on her fur, and the gentle rustle of leaves brought a flicker of curiosity to her eyes. Slowly, she began to explore, her tail held high as she sniffed flowers and watched butterflies dance in the air. It was a far cry from the cold, dangerous streets she had once called home. As Luna thrived, Emily began sharing their story with friends and family. She would show pictures of Luna's transformation, from the scared and scruffy cat in the alley to the confident, loving companion she had become. The story touched everyone who heard it, a testament to the incredible change that love and care could bring. But for Emily, the most profound part of the journey was what Luna had taught her. Luna's resilience reminded her that even in the darkest times, there is strength to be found. Her cautious trust was a lesson in patience, and her eventual affection was a reward that could only be earned through kindness and consistency. One evening, as Emily sat in her favorite chair with Luna curled up in her lap, she reflected on how much they had both grown. The alley where Luna had lived seemed like a distant memory, but Emily knew it was an important part of their story, a reminder of how far they had come together. "You saved me as much as I saved you," Emily whispered, running her fingers gently through Luna's fur. The small cat responded with a soft purr, her eyes half closed in contentment. In that moment, it was clear. Theirs was a bond that had changed them both in ways neither could have imagined. Luna's story is more than just one of survival. It's a story of hope, of trust, rebuilt, and of the life-changing power of compassion. For Luna, it was a second chance at life. For Emily, it was a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can create ripples far beyond what we can see. Together, they proved that love has the power to heal even the deepest wounds. and that sometimes it's not just about saving a life, but also about being saved in return. Luna's journey from the cold, unforgiving streets to the warmth of a loving home is a testament to the resilience of animals and the profound connections we can share with them. Her story inspires us to look beyond the surface, to see the potential for beauty and strength in even the most broken of beings. And in doing so, it challenges us to be better, to be the kind of people who can make a difference, one small act of kindness at a time.